Today I'm going to talk about why knowing God is not enough. Hello everybody, welcome to Theology 101. My name is Andrew Kim and this channel exists to teach you Christian theology and everyday language. In a previous video, I talked about how everyone knows God through general revelation. In case you didn't get to watch that video, I'll link it above for you. What we learned from that video is that God reveals himself to everybody through nature, history, or ourselves. Now today I want to talk about why general revelation is not enough to know God. And the problem isn't general revelation. The problem has to do with the lenses by which we look at general revelation. Some of us have a lens of naturalism, so we deny any possibility of the miraculous. Some of us have the lens of religion, so we think that we have to earn our love with God instead of receiving grace. Some of us have the lens of selfishness, so that when we look at the evidences for God, we only see it through our own experiences without looking at it objectively. Although our logic reveals God, the conclusions we come to based on our logic are not always accurate when it comes to God. Although history reveals God, our interpretation of history may not always be correct. Although nature reveals God, our theories and hypotheses about nature may not always lead to God. General revelation is not enough not because of general revelation itself. It is because of the lenses by which we look at general revelation. Today I want to cover 3 passages that talk about this dynamic. The first passage is Romans chapter 1 verses 18 through 23. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. According to the Apostle Paul, he says that nature reveals God's wrath against all ungodliness. This in turn should make his power plain or obvious to everyone. And then this should lead us to then submit to him, glorify him, and give thanks to him. The problem is that when we look at nature, we suppress the truth about God. Instead of submitting to God, we twist the evidence for God and end up making idols after our own thoughts. The problem is not with general revelation. The problem is the lens by which we look at general revelation. The second passage is Acts chapter 14, verses 8 through 18. Paul and Barnabas comes upon a crippled man in Lystra. Paul ends up healing this man, and all the people watching are amazed by this power that they've seen. And so what people end up doing is they go to their temples, bring animals as sacrifices, and they want to worship Paul and Barnabas as their Greek gods. We see what they say in verse 11. The gods have come down to us in the likeness of men. They conclude that Paul is Hermes and Barnabas is Zeus. So when they're about to worship him, Paul sees what's going on, and he ends up saying this. Men, why are you doing these things? We also are men of like nature with you, and we bring you good news, that you should turn from these vain things to a living God who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. In past generations he allowed all the nations to walk in their own ways, yet he did not leave himself without witness. For he did good by giving you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, satisfying your hearts with food and gladness. Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the people from offering sacrifice to them. What Paul and Barnabas did should have been an opportunity for them to talk about how God gave them this power. The people should have already known God through the provision that God provided for them through rain and food. But the reality is that when they look at Paul and Barnabas, instead of worshiping God, they end up worshiping them. Why? Because of the lenses by which they look at general revelation. They can't discern between Paul and Barnabas and God, and so they think that Paul and Barnabas are just like the idols that they worship. The third and final passage comes from Acts chapter 17, verses 22 to 27. Paul is in Athens, and he's noticing all the altars that the Greek people use to worship their unknown gods. He uses this as an opportunity to talk about the true God. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he is actually not far from each one of us. Do you notice what the Apostle Paul says? He says that through general revelation, everyone should know that God is near them and not far from them. But the reality is that when people look at general revelation, they don't seek after the true God. They end up making idols or gods they don't even know. The problem is not what God has revealed in general revelation. The problem has to do with the lenses by which we look at general revelation. What we learn from these three passages is that general revelation is not enough to know God. And it's not because of what God revealed in general revelation. It has to do with how we look at general revelation. And so the issue for all of us is not that we lack information. The issue for all of us is that something has to change within us so that we can see God clearly. This is why the psalmist in Psalm chapter 19 begins talking about general revelation, but then ends the chapter talking about why all of us need special revelation. Look at how the psalmist talks about what special revelation does to us. He writes that special revelation is perfect, it produces joy, it gives insight, it's true and lasts forever. Special revelation guides and is valuable. It reveals errors and protects us from sin. Listen, general revelation informs, but special revelation transforms. And in order for us to know God, we don't lack information. We need transformation. If you found this video helpful, please like it and share it with a friend. And if you're wondering what special revelation is, that's a topic for an upcoming video. Leave a comment, let me know if there's any other topics you would like for me to cover. And until next time, see you.